Hello and welcome to my presentation for ESSC12003 Exercise and Sports Psychology. The task today will be to develop and describe a goal-setting strategy which is aimed at increasing adherence to a weight loss initiative in a group fitness setting. Specifically, we're referring to an aerobics class for people between the ages of 45 and 60. A little bit of background about our demographic. Firstly, over 56% of the Australian adult population are either overweight or obese, and of those between the ages of 34 to 75, there are between 57 and 76% that do not meet the basic physical activity guidelines of 150 minutes per week. The fact is, if they move more, they will lose weight and body fat. Prior to identifying the goals and the goal-setting strategy, we need to further understand the motivation of this target group. In their paper looking at the effect of goal setting on motivation and adherence in a 6-week exercise program, Wilson and Brookfield identified that clearly it was intrinsic motivators that were the drivers for the 45 to 60-year-old age group, and they came up with that greatest success in terms of exercise adherence. Furthermore, Quindry, Yount, Bryant and Rudisill looked at the exercise engagement related to age-dependent factors and highlighted that the key motivators for our target group were health pressures, being told by their doctor to lose weight, or having poor levels of cholesterol or other weight-related issues such as diabetes, the affiliation that comes with social exposure through exercise and group fitness, positive health outcomes, for example, improving HDL cholesterol, and also specific to women, it was weight loss. Sports psychology literature has identified 3 different types of goals. The first goal process goals are goals that form part of a larger goal. For example, they may be changing the small movements required for a better stroke for a tennis player. Performance goals are individual goals and relate to individual performance, for example, the run rate of a cricketer. So regardless of a win or lose outcome of the cricket match, if the cricketer meets the run rate goal, then he has met his performance goal. Outcome goals are usually larger goals and relate more to wins or losses in a game situation. Traditionally, SMART has been the acronym we've used to come up with well-qualified goals. SMART, referring to specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic and timely goals, has been adapted by Pearson into START. Under START, we look at specific goals, we look at the timing within the goal, acquisition or buy-in from the person that is going through the goal setting process, the rewards related to that goal, and the tools required to achieve the goal. For the purpose of this discussion, I will be using the framework around START goals. Let's look a little further into it. The specificity refers to the specific goal, better than do your best, as quoted by Locke and Latham. The idea here is that we say each week, instead of just doing your best to eat well and get to the gym and meet up with your friends for as many aerobics classes as you can, we say, okay, specifically you need to get to 3 classes per week and you need to meet the goal of losing 500 grams per week. Timing, We look at proximal versus distal. So larger goals, like our outcome goals, will probably have a distal timing. So within 12 weeks, we will lose 6 kilos. This is too far off for most people, and we need to look at proximal timing as well. So looking at each week what those goals are. Acquisition, as I've mentioned, refers to getting buy-in from the stakeholder. So looking at goals that are self-determined, perhaps guided by experts, but certainly self-determined. Rewards, we want to encourage regular feedback, and in the situation that we're in with 45 to 60-year-olds who are intrinsically motivated, we need to probably worry less about money and material rewards. It would be more of an intrinsic motivator for them to be intrinsically rewarded through their own self-achievements. Tools. For the purpose of this discussion, we're looking at self-monitoring tools, and they may be heart rate and calorie monitors, pedometers, those sorts of things. Just to clarify, the acquisition, as I mentioned, and prior to any goal setting within this situation, it's really important that we look at stakeholder buy-in, and Chapman and Jeffrey identified that the self-assigned goals, rewards and weekly meetings result in very high levels of self-efficacy and adherence to weight loss programs. Let's look at our goals. Specific goals. Number 1, an outcome goal. We are going to make a goal for the one of the males and one of the females to be the biggest loser in 12 weeks. If we break it down a little more, we look at performance goals. So the performance goals will be monthly, and we're looking at individual fat loss goals, for example, 2 kilos per month. But within that, we need to look at proximal timing as well, and we need to identify that there will be weekly fat loss goals. Finally, we look at process goals, and this would be the steps it's going to take to get us to the fat loss. So this might be perhaps the weekly individual class attendance goals. So we would say, okay, to achieve that, you need to be in the gym at the aerobics classes 3 times per week. Overall, the strategy we're looking at, as I've mentioned before, we need the stakeholder buy-in. So the group participation initially to assess the body composition and health status, and to educate the group and those that are doing some of the goal setting in conjunction with the experts would be required. You need to agree with the participant on the goals and seek accepted and internalized goals for intrinsic motivation within this group and continued compliance. As I outlined earlier, our outcome goal is the biggest loser. Our performance goal will be the individual's selection of how many kilos per week they need to lose, and then a sum total of 12 weeks or 6 months or whatever the time frame is. It needs to be specific. The process goal then would be to attend at least 3 classes per week. Or perhaps we have those that are so overweight, they're not moving well. So we might say, well, they need to be able to break it down to learning to squat or learning to walk easily on a treadmill. The process goals are the small steps that will take us to the performance goal and ultimately our outcome goal. And in conclusion, I'd just like to highlight one of the goals, and in this instance, we look at the performance goal, which is the individual performance goal and how it fits with the START goal framework. So for the performance goal, specific to this task, we are looking at losing 6 kilograms. It's a specific amount in a certain amount of time, 12 weeks. Now we spoke of proximal and distal. So proximal will be 500 grams per week, and distal in this instance will be the 6 kilograms in 12 weeks. So there we have shown not only specific but timely goal setting. Acquisition comes through the self-determined kilograms of fat loss. Of course, there would be guidance through an expert and further education, but we need to have buy-in from the stakeholder for this goal to work and for the adherence to their exercise program to continue. Rewards. In this instance, we're looking at intrinsic motivators, so the rewards would centre around self-rewards, health benefits. For example, the loss of weight may reverse diabetes and make the person feel so much better in themselves in terms of their health, as well as their psychological mindset. The tools that we would use for this task would include the calorie and activity calculators contained within heart rate monitors. There'd also be weekly meetings, which would encourage adherence through social interaction and connections. Pedometers to look at how much extra exercise they're doing. Scales, obviously, to monitor weight loss. And also gym attendance records. You may find at the end of this presentation the references for goal setting related to adherence of exercise programs, and I would welcome any further discussion. Thank you for your time.